Like anything new personal with you since the last time we caught up with you? I think it was
Uh,
around dripping.
yeah, it's been a while since we talked. Let's see. I mean, 2021 kind of opened up for us like at the end of the year. So we had a lot of gigs. We had like a residency at DC United. Um, we did a whole bunch of wedding gigs. Everybody was, if they didn't get married then during COVID, during the lockdown, they were itching to get out and get married. So we did a lot of weddings. We did a couple funerals too. We did a couple live shows. So the end of 2021 was good. 22 is kicking off great. We've had a couple gigs. We booked some stuff out for the year, and we had a tour. So that's been slated. I think I finished booking that in around like October 2021. And it was originally scheduled for like 2022, but like things fell apart, and so piecing it back together, changing routes, figuring out who's still working at these venues, who's left, and getting bounce back emails and calling people and reaching like, hey, somebody in Atlanta? I finally put it all together.
Yeah, so let's dive in. So you're in center stage uh, in Atlanta, the Lincoln Theater in Raleigh, the Richmond Music Hall in
Mm-hmm.
Richmond, Metro Gallery in
Right.
Baltimore, and Union Stage in DC, and that's going to run from March 29th through April 2nd.
That is correct. All that is true.
So how did you come to these cities? Like I know some of it, of course, is salvaging a tour that you kind of set in motion, but if you were planning on playing there at all, I know that there's got to be some connection in these places, right? Like folks that you want to reach out to or folks you want a chance to collaborate with.
Right, right. So each city outside of like our home city has like its own unique story. Uh, I did like a lot of just research like on the back end of like our analytics and figuring out like where our music was being played the most. And then from there I was like, all right, this would be a good spot. Let me see like what venues they have available there. And then I was like looking to see like what other brands that we could partner with or who we've previously been in contact with and who like we've never been able to make stuff happen. And then the last thing like I took into consideration was like the route, like what's the most cost efficient way to like program this tour so we aren't coming out in the red once we're done with the tour. So we can try to make like some type of profit to like keep on pushing through the rest of the year. Um, I'll start off with the first one though. Like Atlanta that was the last show to get booked for, and we had no intentions of going to Atlanta. The original tour that I had structured was DC, Philly, Baltimore, Virginia, and we were trying to set something up in Tennessee because we have some good friends out there who also have a band called Brassville. So we were trying to do something with them. Either way, that didn't work out. And what happened was I hit up Atlanta, but nobody had responded. I hit them up like maybe I want to say in August of 2021. A whole bunch of cold emails, reaching out to people, seeing if they had any connections, reaching out to friends who I know down there who have performed at venues, uh, and still like getting no responses. So it's like maybe 3 weeks out from my tour, and in my mind it just popped in my head. I was like, oh man, what I usually do, like when I'm searching for jobs, I'll go and look for like the person who works at the agency is like the hiring director. So I got a bounce back email from an old employee that works there. I didn't know she was an old employee at the time, but I looked up on LinkedIn, saw that like her profile confirmed that she had worked at Center Stage, reached out to her. Like I hit her up on like Instagram and Facebook and like all her social accounts. And she responded. She was like, hey, I don't actually work there anymore. And I was like, yeah, I know, but my email went to you. So could you just forward my email to who works there now? And she reached out to them, and because I was like, I know you need to tell them to turn off the forwarding to your email so people stop hitting you up because you don't want nobody else like me finding it. And so in that process of her like having to respond, I was like, hey, please let them know that we're trying to do this. And so like maybe within like because I waited, like, it was like 3 days after I had emailed, like, messaged her, and she finally responded. I was in the gym, and I responded immediately. And then, like, 2 days later, the venue that I hit up, like, maybe 2 months ago, emailed me. And so it was between, like, those two emails, it was that venue and another venue that it hit me up, like, the day before. So we ended up going with vinyl just because it was more convenient for us, like, production wise, to, like, bring everything there and make a show happen. And then just doing some research on their page and, like, friends in the area, I was able to find, like, a couple of dope openers. One is Lon Ray and the other one is Kyra Korchak. So that's how that happened. It's all a matter of just, like, persistence, for real, for real.
Yeah, I was going to applaud you on your persistence, and also, I mean, it shows going the extra mile and being able to solve the problem, and you also got a chance to help out. Hopefully this young lady won't get any more like emails, and hopefully other artists will have an easier time communicating with the venue if they update the information, where you pulled your info from. Yeah, that's a great story. I love rewards and persistence and patience,
Yeah, it was dope.
You mentioned a few folks that you've got performing on the show there, but there's some local folks you'd mentioned, like the DuPont Brass Factory and Brent Burkhead.
Oh yeah.
So you've got some DC and Future Band DC, DJ Chubby Swag. So tell us a little about some of these DC folks and how they're contributing.
So, I mean, a couple of them we went to school with. Like, I went to school with Brent Burkhead because my name is Brent Gossett. So I was like, and when I went to Howard, I came there as a freshman. I think Brent Burkhead was like a junior when I got there. And then there was another Brent. His name was Brent Williams. So it was like Brent Burkhead played saxophone, Brent Williams played sousaphone, and then I played too in sousaphone. So it was like it was like three Brents like in the span of like 2 years. So we all just knew each other. But
since we went together.
Right. Since we went to school together, it was just like easy to think of because Brent Burkhead is originally from Baltimore. And he, from what I had heard, like when I was putting the tour together, like maybe like the last couple of legs of the tour when I was rescheduling and everything, I heard that he had moved back to Baltimore. He was like in New York for a little bit and bouncing back and forth. And then I just heard that he had set it shop back up in Baltimore for real. So I reached out to him to see if it was a possibility. Rufus Roundtree and the DuPont Brass Factory, those are some of the homies that I play with sometimes. Like I used to commute back and forth to D.C. Like they need a tuba player, so I would come through and like play at their show sometimes. So I figured it would be like a dope pairing, like if we just got those three together. DC,
you just wanted to get the Brents back together, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah, make a whole trifecta.
Right.
The funny thing is, like Richmond, Virginia, there's another Brent on that show. He goes by Big B, but his name is Brent Butler.
So even more Brents.
Right.
If you're looking for brass players out there, Google search for Brents. There's a good chance they play brass.
Right. And then the DC show, we didn't go to school with Future Band. Or matter of fact, some of the people in Future Band DC did go to school with us. Like Brian Doyle, one of their horn players who plays trombone, he was in the band when I was a freshman. James Hogue was a past drum major. And then some of the older members of Future Band DC used to be like Howard University graduates. So it's like there was always that connection because we used to see, or like I used to see them coming up to Howard to do rehearsal when I was still in undergrad just practicing my horn. So is that, and then Chubby, DJ Chubby Swag, we also went to school with him. Like he was my actual grade. So it was like I remember seeing like flyers of him when I was like a freshman and like he's like DJing or spinning on like his twerk tapes that he used to put out every year. So it's like the connection's been there with all these people for a while. It was just a matter of like me piecing together my networks, at least for those two cities. For Richmond, Raleigh, and Atlanta, it was a little more difficult.
You do have some folks down there. I mean, obviously, you probably didn't go to school with all of them, but did you have any folks in mind when you were looking to put bills together or the collaborations in like Raleigh?
No, Raleigh was the one that I was most unsure about because I personally have like never been to North Carolina to just visit. Like I've always gone down there for like a gig and then I roll out, or like I had a performance with the marching band when I was in school, and then we would roll out. Like I never really had like a chance to explore mix and mingle. But one of our lead vocalists, Izzy, he went down there one time on a gig with Mark Meadows, who's a good friend of ours, and he met this amazing band named Nito. And from there, I started following because I was like, hey, man, they smacking. So I was like, in my mind, I was already like pre-planning the tour like 3 years ago. I was like, if we go on tour and if I happen to be able to find a way to make it to North Carolina, I should hit them up. And so like when the opportunity arose for us to go there, I hit them up like immediately. I was like, hey, let's set something up. And like it's our show in North Carolina is really like a partnership show. It's not like we're featuring them or anything. It's like a joint show for real. Like they helped me put that show together from top to bottom. We had a couple of meetings, like we went in on the venue together. It's a pretty cool relationship, and I'm looking forward to like just keeping it in motion. Like I'm hoping they come up to DC sometime. We do a show and like we have like a trade going back and forth between North Carolina, just building up our crowds. That would be dope. For Richmond, TZ So Dope. TZ So Dope is dope. She's dope as hell. So I met her through recommendation of Milo Case. He's a rapper that's originally from Richmond, or at least he went to school down there. I can't remember which one, but he's a rapper and a solar energy enthusiast. So he works in the tech and solar world, but he is also has a couple like albums and mixtapes. He put me on to Big B, and Big B, who's also Brent Butler. He told me about TZ So Dope when I was looking for other people to open. And so it was just a network. So Milo Case to Big B to TZ So Dope. And those were the openers that I booked for the tour in 2020. So I kept them the same because they were available. I was like, let's make this easy. I already know I like their music. They cool peoples. Let's just bring them on to the 2022 tour. And then Atlanta, like I said, that was the last one to get put together. So out of like after DC and Baltimore, Atlanta is where I probably had the most connections of people that I know from like school after those two. So I was like, that was just a matter of like hitting people up. We had a couple of band members who had like recently moved down there. So I like hit them up to figure out the music scene. One of my good friends, he goes by Tuba Ken. He's played with like Anderson .Paak, and he has like his own band down there called Red Sample. I hit him up. He gave me a couple of recommendations. And so from there, I just nailed it down and reached out to a couple of people. It was really cold calling in Atlanta, but they were super responsive. Like Lon Ray hit me back within like maybe 1 or 2 days, and Kyra did the same. Granted, like when I hit people up, I usually just don't hit like one channel. Like I'll shoot your email address, and then I'll also like shoot your socials. Because you never know these days. Like some people are real email heavy, which is me. And then some people are just like real social heavy, and that's not me. So if you shoot me something on socials in a like private message and I don't know you, I may not see it till like months from now. You shoot me an email. Yeah, you shoot me an email. I'll see it like in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm usually good in the emails, 24 to 48 hours, but socials to me, that's supposed to be, for fun or for casual exploration. I don't want to be tied to it 24/7. So I'm pretty old school phone and email kind of guy. Well, let's see. We've covered the cities, we've covered the places, and the reasons for the reschedule. I'm super excited that you're able to put this together. And do you think that there'll be like a part 2, any surprise music education tour dates in the future?
So maybe. Well, I'm thinking about that now already. Like I have a couple ideas that are like currently like an implementation. We're working on our next project. I have a alternate tour route in my head. If things work out well for this first leg, I have something that can like happen within the next like 5 months after we get back from tour. So it might be around that same thing, like another 5 city tour. But I might try to push for it this year, or I might try to push it into next year. It depends, because the other thing to consider with us is like most of us are still teachers, so it's like it's hard getting everybody to be available at the same time, especially like if we aren't doing stuff during like our breaks. Like the tour was originally supposed to happen during spring break or midwinter break, but I couldn't get a home show venue for DC when I was trying to reschedule during our breaks. So I was able to get everybody to commit to just taking off for this like entire week of the tour. So it worked out. But it's easier when the teachers are off, because I'd be like, all right, look, you ain't got to worry about no kids. Just come on tour. We're gonna roll out.
That's great. Maybe, I mean, I definitely see the theme. Of course, you could come up with the spring break tour or the winter break tour as often as you need to, and just tie it into some of this album. So one question that I've got, maybe you can help me out, is I noticed that there's a 10-track and an 11-track version of Music Education. Could you clue me into the differences there?
Got you. So the 10-track version is the clean version, in all caps, just Music Education. The 11-track version is the explicit version. And this is like a hot topic of debate within the group for like maybe like 2 weeks. So around midnight, it is a real like rap heavy song. Like MK Zulu, our trumpet player and our vocalist, he is like really spitting bars on that. But me personally, I was like, if you're not like a music lover, I don't know if you would make it to the point where he's like spitting bars, because it starts off like with this old retro sound of like, we were trying to make it sound like an LP, taking it back to like old school jazz and like traditional standards with like the head around midnight. It's like, I believe it was, it's a play on, I think it was John Coltrane's version of Around Midnight that we did. And so that's like how his intro sort of starts off. So we wanted to do it like that, but I also didn't want people to like skip and be like, nah, this is too much jazz for me. Get me to the cooler stuff. So in my mind, I'm like, in the failed clenching circumstance that they actually do skip it, they get straight to the song. And so they don't miss it. So they don't miss what we wanted to get them to. So that's how that came about. With the clean version, it was like, all right, this will help differentiate what's explicit and what's clean. And also, we're re-releasing this, so it doesn't matter as much. Like most of the people who I wanted to make that first impression on have heard it. And the clean version is more so for people who are underage, technically.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, being educators, you'll have a few underage fans. And so at least thinking about them when you're trying to, make music from yourself, but also that, you can kind of be excited to share with them. That's completely understandable.
Right. It's definitely easily or readily accessible for the classroom.
There you go. Yeah. And then you could put it on when you're teaching lessons, little inspirational music. Well, speaking of, so just to send people on where they can find you, it's at DuPontBrass.com, and specifically to learn more about these show dates, and they can purchase the tickets right from your website at DuPontBrass.com/shows. I would also tell everybody that they can find you on Instagram at BassHeavySlim, but it would take them a few months to reach you.
Right.
Is there anything else that you want to tell people?
Come to the shows. Come to the show. It's gonna be dope. Like, it's gonna be so dope. And then we have hella new merch. Like, we finally got hoodies.
Oh, nice.
So I'm wearing one of our new hoodies. We got red BDA sweatshirts. So that's dope. The Krispy Kreme tanks that people love, the Krispy Kreme mock design, hot music, DuPont Brass. We have those as hoodies too. We have LPs. So just come through, buy merch, support, have a great time, enjoy your start of the summer, Well, we outside and we having a great time and nobody's really caring about what's going on. Be safe, but have fun, you know?
Make the most of it.
Right.
Well, thanks for joining us, Brent. We really appreciate having you. That's Brent from DuPont Brass, going on tour for the Music Education Tour, coming up later on this March and into the beginning of April. So check it out.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.